great to be with FCC Chairman Ajit Paiji. You are a role model for Indian American community. And before I talk about your role as FCC Chairman, talk to me being an Indian American and serving under President Obama and under President Trump now, how that makes you feel?
It makes me feel very gratified that the American experiment has been so successful for the Indian American community. My parents came here in 1971 with $8, a transistor radio, and a belief in the American dream. And it's very gratifying to know that just one generation later, their son has been tapped by the President of the United States, two presidents actually, to have these important responsibilities. So for me, it gives me two basic charges. Number one, to do my job as best I can. And number two, to tell Indian kids who are growing up now, the sky's the limit in this country. Don't let your horizon be limited by who you are or where you happen to live or what you happen to look like. You can achieve whatever you want, and I hope that's the message that my service in public office will show.
Absolutely. One last question because of the time paucity, and allow me to introduce Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh, who is chairman of ITV Gold as well as Parikh Worldwide Media. And coming from media to you, you yesterday addressed Council on Foreign Relations, which is unprecedented, I think, but these times are special times. So talk to me from that point of view, the cooperation between US and India as far as technology exchange-related trust is concerned.
Obviously, the United States and India are very close and enduring allies, and I think when it comes to the communications networks, that is certainly the case. I've had the privilege to meet many ministers and secretaries in India, in the Indian government, and one of the things I've pointed out to them is that we have common interests, especially when it comes to things like security and 5G. We want to make sure that our communications networks are secure, and I've been working very closely with the government, both governments, to make sure that we are on the same page going forward. We want our citizens to benefit from the digital revolution, but we also want those networks to be safe.
So this last question, and I know he's almost pressing the time. So just because China, you mentioned, is not acting in ethical fashion, how is India's position and India's capacity to protect itself?
I think what I've emphasized to the Indian government is that our interests are very much aligned. We don't want to have untrusted vendors supplying equipment or services into our networks. And whether it is in Mumbai or in Washington, D.C., we want to make sure that those networks are composed of parts that are very trusted. And to the extent that Chinese vendors are subject to China's national intelligence law, that gives me some concern. That in law requires Chinese companies to comply with requests from the Chinese intelligence services. And there are two particular companies, Huawei and ZTE, that have shown in the United States and around the world that there are some issues there when it comes to security of their products. And so we want to make sure that every country in the world, especially a trusted ally like India, evaluates these services coming into their country using a risk-based framework.
Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and I'm here at the Indian Consulate. A very important inauguration is happening, and I have the presence of Dr. Sudhir Parikh ji as well as Kumar Sahab. Kumar Sahab, I would like you to say something about the significance of today's event and the role that Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh is going to play for this organization.
Dr. Parikh is the key. He is in the key position to say what he is going to say. But let me tell you something about it. He is a man of dignity and honor. We are pleased to have him. He is on the board of trustees. He chairs the board of trustees for the chamber, and he is a great supporter of chamber.
Wonderful. So talk to us about what made you take active part for this chamber.
My involvement in this chamber, because I believe that we have to have some platform where we can take business people and professional from here to India. And we are planning one conclave in Delhi soon in the coming winter, where we can take certain expertise and some businessmen and even senator and congressman if possible to India. And probably government of India is looking for that. And I'm sure that we'll get a great support from our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his administration.
I'm involved because I know Dr. Parikh for almost 30 years, as well as Kumar. The things they have undertaken to build this Chamber of Commerce, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, and the relationship we are going to build in the coming years and the months is a great success for the Indian origin from here to go back. and develop the relationship, trade, and number of business initiatives, which is not only going to help for US as well as India.
Bank of Baroda being a public sector bank, our focus has been the India-US trade corridor, and this Indian-American International Chamber of Commerce also focuses on that. That is how I think we can be a complement to each other to improve the trade, which is expected to touch maybe more than 5 billion in next 2 years.
Our chamber is established about 30 years ago, although in a different name. And we are excited today to have this forum here.
Thank you for hosting this great event, and thank you for the opportunity. We certainly look forward to some great work, with the Chamber of Commerce. And nice to meet all of you.
And the home of the brave. Thank you. Jai Hind. Bharat Mata Ki. Jai.
Today, we have a new partner in New York. The Indian American International Chamber of Commerce has its Northeast New York regional chapter opening today. From the Consulate General of India, we always try to engage with different chambers of commerce, business associations. We find it a bit difficult when there is some distance. For example, some of the many big business associations have their offices in Washington or Houston. Even if we try, there is a limitation, this tyranny of distance. Fortunately, the Indian American International Chamber of Commerce from now onwards will be present in New York. We look forward to working with you in future, and we hope that this is just the beginning, and we'll have much more to do together.
Okay. Although Indian American International Chamber of Commerce has been in existence for about 30 years in another name, it did not have a strong national or international presence until this year. That does not mean that the Chamber has not done anything of national significance to Asian Indian business community. To name a few, the Chamber was responsible for opening the doors of various federal and state government agencies to Indian American business community to take advantage of their programs.
You may have seen Howdy Modi. Our Prime Minister was welcomed by more than 50,000 people, Indian Americans and Americans in this country, which attracted the Honorable President Trump to be there, because the 50,000 people's attention that one could not avoid to have. So that is why it was a joint event, and it was unique. It was a history in the sense that hardly anywhere there was a joint session. In fact, when I started from here, the Madison Square Garden event, we never thought that there would be a joint program. In 3 years or 4 years, 2014 or 2019, in 5 years, we could get Honorable President to that platform. That is the achievement. That is possible because of the Indian Americans. Now, having said so, you have seen Prime Minister Modi's address. After that, there was one event, interaction with CEOs. And that basically it happened in Houston. And in Houston, that was related to only energy, because it was energy capital. So it happened only with the energy. There was one MOU that was signed. That MOU would be saying where the relationship stands. That MOU gives the Indian company Petronet to invest more than 60 billion US dollar. It is an open-ended investment agreement. And every year we would be buying 2.5 billion US dollar of petrol by that company itself. Why I am saying this one? It is an open-ended investment proposal, because there is no cap up to 60 billion. Up to 2.5 billion worth of petroleum products that the company would be buying. That shows that the relationship between the India and USA. And currently we are committed to buy 18 billion worth of defense equipments. If you look at the sectors, that is air sectors, we are committed that we would be buying 38 billion worth of aircrafts in the next 5 years.
This is a dream come true. because since late 80s and 90s, myself, KV Kumar, we all were working under the banner of Indian American Forum for Political Education. Our goal was to really galvanize and mobilize and introduce our second generation to government working in Washington, D.C. And also, we wanted to help US-India relation. Politically, we all were driving force behind the formation of the India Caucus, which helps India in both politically, economically, and otherwise in the world. But also, we also now pleased to know that we are developing this platform to develop the US-India relation, particularly the trade relations. Because India is moving forward and upward, India needs really a large scale investment from the USA and the world. And I think this platform will give us a little, some kind of a networking to justify or just to realize that goal. And the last thing, before I introduce our chairman, I would like to, President Apan and Manojji and everyone says about this trade and use this platform of chambers, but I would like to say that we are going to go one step forward. In upcoming springtime, we're going to have summit in Delhi between the organization like FICCI or CIA and this our chapter, our commerce chamber of commerce. And again, we're going to have another summit in fall here in USA, and that's only way to really make it more realistic, more important, and more productive. Let's welcome a proud second generation chairman, Amit Pai.
I also want to thank KV Kumar and everyone at the Chamber for asking me to be a part of this special occasion. And I particularly want to salute KV for his leadership on a variety of issues. Of course, IAICC, but also issues like brain injury treatment. He's very much been a leader in a great number of issues. Congratulations also on the launch of the New York regional office. I'd also like to thank the Chamber for being at this work for 30 years. This is the 30-year anniversary, which you celebrated in September. It has truly been an incredible 30 years when you think about it. It's sometimes hard to remember how different things were back in 1989. But for perspective, 30 years ago, there were something like 800,000 Indian Americans here in the United States. It was quite rare to see Indian Americans in public office or on the television screen or anywhere else in public life. And 30 years ago, a shy, awkward, gangly 16-year-old, that would be me, was listening to lectures from his mother about how he should go someday to medical school. Well, 30 years forward, some things have not changed. I'm still shy, still awkward, and I still have not gone to medical school. But some things have changed very much. The Indian American community now in this country is 4.5 million people. If you look at the tech sector, it has arguably become the most dominant force in our culture, and Indian Americans are leading the way. Multiple world-leading technology companies, including Google and Microsoft, now feature Indian or Indian American chief executive officers. And nearly 1 in every 4 Silicon Valley startups is founded by somebody who is Desi. We are gathered, of course, in the financial capital of the world, where we have Indian Americans at the helm of major enterprises like Standard & Poor's and MasterCard. One of the people I, and perhaps many others in this room, have drawn tremendous inspiration from, and I'm proud to now call her a friend, is Indra Nooyi, until recently the chief executive officer of PepsiCo. And much of the financial services workforce is being groomed at business schools led by Indian Americans, including prestigious institutions like Harvard and NYU and the University of Chicago. And of course, sticking with the finance theme, an Indian American at MIT just won the Nobel Prize for economics, something that might have been unthinkable just 30 years ago.
I am very delighted on behalf of Dr. Butlapur, Apan Menon, and Dr. Sudhir Parikh to announce that Mike Narula has agreed to be the president of the Northeastern region. Want to say a couple of words?
Thank you. It is definitely an honor, to be granted, this great position, and looking forward to working with all of you.
Sir, it has been a great pleasure and honor to have you here, and we respect you and we welcome you, and you have no limits for growth. Thank you very much for having us.
So much. Well, the honor is mine. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Ashok Vyas, delighted to be with Minister of Commerce, Manoj Mohapatraji, who has been a friend with Indian American community here in New York. He has connected with all of us as Deputy Consul General. And now that you come back to the same venue in a different capacity, how, first of all, was the feeling emotionally?
No, first of all, thank you very, very much, Ashok ji. You know me very well that till since 2014 we were working together. And when I have come back to Washington DC, it is a feeling of home, and particularly New York, particularly this room and my office, that gives me that I am among the friends.
And your role now as Minister of Commerce and what experience you got here, how they complement each other?
The thing is that if you see this, currently I am basically looking after the trade and commerce issues. Trade and commerce issues are important in our bilateral relationship. As of now, if you would be seeing this one, that in the last 10 years, 15 years, the trade volume that has increased currently stands at 142 or 143 billion US dollar. And this one, that the presence of 2,000 American companies in India, who are they? Some of them are also Indian origin. And what helps me, that when I know the friends here in New York and when I am there in Washington DC, all my contacts, the old contacts got revived, and that has been very much helpful to me.
And your presence here today for FCC's chairman also addressing this commission, how do you see role of this organization?
You'll have to see this one, that when the trade is increasing, bilateral trade, I gave in my speech, the relationship is so robust, whether it is the democracy or demography or dividend, what I talked about, that the relationship cannot be neglected. When having said this one, that the relationship cannot be neglected in a democracy like it is the oldest democracy in India, is a largest democracy, and the without economy relationship cannot be sustained. And the more the chambers that would be, that should also grow, because we cannot restrict our relations to one or two metropolitan cities or one or two, the big cities of USA. So what we would like, all 50 states of USA should have their partners there in India from 29 states and some unit territories. That would help some sort of bonding. And I would be saying, if the chambers would not be flexing their muscles to different parts of the country, it would be very difficult. Having said this, that what we want, we welcome the initiative that is taken by the Indian American International Chamber of Commerce to open the new chapters, and what Ajit Payaji was mentioning. Now, the opening of the chapters would be giving also the new directions, and the few new people would be understanding that what is the role of the chambers, and through them they would be extending the trade relationship with India.
Very, very prestigious event. Talk to me your feeling. You have worked very hard for this event.
Well, a lot of people have worked very hard, and I'm glad that it was a very good success because of all of you. And we were very lucky to have Chairman Ajit Pai to come and spend so much time with us. In Washington, you cannot get him for half an hour. But here, when he came, he spent nearly 3 hours with us. And that's amazing, because he liked the whole environment, he liked the people, and he enjoyed meeting with Dr. Sudhir Parikh again, and all things comes back. And he acknowledged the good work that Dr. Parikh and people like him, like myself, we have done, helps their generation to be in the front line.
Talking from the point of view of entrepreneurs, there were some important entrepreneurs in the hall today, and how do you see they could get benefit from activities organized by this Chamber of Commerce, as well as in what way they can contribute?
Both ways, it works both ways. It's beneficial for the organization to have such good entrepreneurs, and for them, it's a stage for performance, meaning they meet networking opportunities, they meet newer people, they meet other investors, other entrepreneurs, and ideas grow from that. A small idea, what it could be, become a huge success later on.
And today, as we speak, what next in terms of the vision or the year-long calendar in terms of the focused activities by this Chamber of Commerce?
The Chamber of Commerce is really meant for getting people together to make things happen in this country. And it's also a very good organization for building good relationship between US and India. And by building goodwill, by building good business relations, the people come together. And the corporations come together, and the countries come together. The more business we have with the United States, India benefits more. But more business we have from United States to India, US benefits. It's a simply put, it's a win-win situation for both countries.
Okay, so lastly, recently we have seen Prime Minister Narendra Modi declining at the end from signing our CEP, but Indian minister's statement tells us that they are seriously considering about FTA with the European Union as well as with America, and especially talking in terms of free trade agreement. Do you foresee that happening, and how it is likely to play out for India?
When you say free trade, it has to be bilateral. It cannot be one-way street. Free trade, I will come to you. For example, I will do business with you if you allow me to sell my products in your place, and no charge for that. But you come to my country and sell your products. I'm going to charge you taxes. It's not going to work that way. It has to be mutually good business proposition. That's what exactly our president is doing.
So overall, as we conclude our conversation, for young entrepreneurs, how do you see they can get a little bit more clarity and much needed resource of knowledge with the help of Indian American Chamber of Commerce?
We hope to provide all of that, and by bringing mentor protege program for younger generation. And we have fairly young people in our board. One of them is sitting right here, Rajat Bhatnagar. People like that are our future. And Prem, Parameswaran, these are the people who are our future. Just like Chairman Pai mentioned, what we do in our life reflects on future generation. When we do good deeds in the chamber, it benefits our membership. And when our members do good work in their companies, and that will benefit our chamber. It's a mutual, beneficial things to both the countries.
Wonderful. I would say you're working towards making the world a better place with better economic orbit for one and all. So I appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.